Hello guys, welcome back to Beyond the Realms, and today I'm going to be reviewing Texas Chainsaw 3D, which was originally titled Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D until the whole, Colorado shooting happened, and, studios want to be oversensitive and think they have to pull off the massacre off the end of the movie, which, I'm not being insensitive to what happened there, but I just think that that was totally ridiculous for that to happen, but that's the least of this movie's problems. So, to get down to it, I'm just going to say right up front, this movie is going to be completely spoiler-filled. I'm not going to hold anything back because I know there's already been 1,000 reviews out there for this film, so I just figure, if anybody cares to watch this, they're probably going to watch it to see, what I think of the whole film. So I'm just going to talk about everything, open-ended, so if you don't want this spoiled, you might want to go ahead and turn this off. The film starts off right at the beginning, or right at the end of the original 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It has a voiceover of Sally Hardesty telling the police what happened to her and her friends, and it's showing flashbacks as they're doing this. And it's very cool, guys. The start is awesome because it's, the original film converted into 3D, and it actually looks really damn good, surprisingly. It's just cool to see that stuff on the big screen anyway. And, I thought it was really awesome, and then you get to the scene where it's showing her, the dinner scene in the original. And I thought it was kind of weird because I noticed right away that Jim Seidow had been taken out, and Bill Moseley had been put in his place, which is a little odd. But you see why, because he ends up playing the cook. Because later on a bunch of people from the town and the sheriffs and everybody, they come back and they basically, it really looks like the beginning of The Devil's Rejects. The family's inside, they come, they shoot everybody up, catch the house on fire, and they think that they've completely rid themselves of the family. So then we fast forward to modern times, and we meet a girl named Heather. And as we saw at the beginning, she is a member of the Sawyer family. And she inherits her grandmother's house when her grandmother passes away. So her and her friends pack up, go to this house. They get there, and it's a big mansion house. She sees all these gravestones out back of all the Sawyer family that's been buried there. And they find Leatherface in like a secret hidden compartment in the basement. He's like locked away. And, then all hell takes off from there with Leatherface trying to kill everybody. That's really the story. That's basically it. Now, to tell, the good things about this, like I said, I liked the beginning. I really thought it was cool. It really got me excited. I love how it all started, even clear up to the family, the shootout, the house burning, all that stuff. I really liked Leatherface in this. I thought Daniel Yeager as Leatherface was actually really good. If you go back and watch my little rant on the trailer, I talked about how I thought he looked like a little puny guy and wasn't imposing at all. Well, he actually works in the film. Like, he's basically the same build as Gunnar Hansen. And he did really good, I thought, in the character. Another cool thing I liked about him in this movie is it showed Leatherface making the mask. There was a part where it shows him in his den making the mask, and there's one part where he's actually sewing one onto his face, and it's very slow and methodical how they're going about it. I like that aspect of it. Now, this is called Chainsaw 3D, so how is the 3D? Well, I'm a big proponent of 3D. I like the format, but it really wasn't very good in this movie at all, because there was no depth to any of the scenes. The only time the 3D popped out, there were a few good scenes. There was a few with the chainsaw. That's really it. Like, you never saw any depth at all to what you were seeing. It was basically just 3D for a few elements in the film. The part that they show in the trailer where he's sawing through the coffin, that part, the 3D worked well because you're inside the coffin. The chainsaw is coming right down by your face. That part was awesome. There's another part where he cuts a guy in half, blood splatters out onto the screen. There's a part where it's cheesy, but for the 3D effect, it's pretty cool. He takes the chainsaw and he throws it at a cop. It comes right at the screen. Very cool 3D element to that. But, you know, overall it just didn't, you know, I don't know. It's not really worth seeing in 3D. And that's coming from somebody who likes the format, so take that as you will. But really, those are the only elements of the film that I really liked. Now, to get to the problems of the film, and oh boy, are there problems with this film. Now, going into this, I had heard a few of the plot, or a few of the problems that it had, but I didn't really look too deep into it. I didn't want too much spoiled because I did plan on seeing it. You know, I have always been a fan of this series. I think the continuity of Texas Chainsaw Massacre is probably the worst out of any of the classic horror slasher franchises. You know, and so I didn't expect anything big continuity-wise, and, you know, I've been entertained even by the bad ones. So, you know, I was going into this still with an open mind, and, you know, like I said, despite hearing some things, I purposely stayed away from them. Now, I had heard going into this that there was some new family members at the beginning that just didn't make any sense because it's supposed to be tied into the original. You know, so I thought, you know, that's a little weird. And after seeing it, it's definitely weird. It makes no sense at all because they are clearly supposed to be members of this family. You have Gunnar Hansen in there that's playing like this big guy, has a shotgun sitting by the window. Another big guy with a shotgun. Then you have Grandpa in the chair. You have the cook. You have Leatherface, which has the mask on that looks just like what he was wearing at the end of the original, which that was cool too. And then there's this woman there with a baby. And that baby actually turns out to be Heather. She has some type of birthmark on her. It looks like a Sawyer, and that's how, you know, you see that and you quickly know that she's, you know, a relative of the Sawyer family. And but none of that just made sense at all, you know. And then another big plot point right after that is even worse. Is the age of Heather. Now, this is something else I'd heard, is how come this girl is in her early 20s, and she's supposed to be this baby they're showing from the original, but they're flash-forwarding to the modern times. She should be in her 40, like 40 years old, but she's only early 20s. And, you know, I was hoping I would be able to find something in there that made that make sense. Like, maybe, you know, it's not 2012 in the film. Maybe it's, you know, around the 90s or something like that, and I'm just not going to mention a date. I didn't look into it any until I saw the film to be able, you know, to see for myself. But clearly, when she gets to her grandmother's house and she's looking around at the tombstones in the graveyard, she looks at her grandmother's tombstone, and it says 2012 right there on it. So that is, I have no fucking idea what these filmmakers were thinking doing that. I mean, okay. Do they just think that everybody that goes and sees this film won't remember or know that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was supposed to have taken place in 1973? I don't know. I mean, if you're marketing this film as a direct sequel to the original, you should know people that are fans of the original are going to go see this, and most fans know this. You know, so it just makes no sense. It's I don't know, but it is what it is. And the lead girl that plays Heather, her name is Alexandra Daddario, and I'm just going to say right now, I think that she was one of the worst final girls out of any slasher I have ever seen. Like, seriously. You know, she's beautiful to look at, she's gorgeous to look at, and at the start, I didn't think she was doing too bad, you know, I mean, typical, just young 20s girl hanging out with her friends, nothing terrible. But very quickly, Leatherface is revealed in this, and things kick up, you know, several notches pretty quick once they get to the house. It doesn't take long, there's not a lot of build-up. And her acting is horrible. She does not show any scared emotions whatsoever. And, you know, she just saw, like, all of her friends get cut up, and she goes to the police station, she's talking to them, and she's like, just the way she's telling it, there's no emotion. She has no distress on her whatsoever. She looks like she just came out of a movie theater and is there now talking at the police station. Like, you know, there's nothing that makes you feel that she just saw her friends get cut up. And then she makes a statement like, yeah, he just killed all my friends, but I know Nikki's still back there. I saw her. I mean, just like so plain and no distress. It's just, it's horrible. And then it gets even worse from there with her. You know, towards the end. Oh my God, that's the thing. I'll get to that in a minute. But there's another plot point that just made no sense, and it was basically just like filler to carry over one kill to another with this Trey Songz guy and this Nikki girl. That, you see, Trey Songz' character is supposedly with Heather, and this Nikki girl's been trying to seduce him. He says something about, you know, it only happened one time. I fucked up. You know, I was drunk. But she comes on to him again. And they end up getting it on, but then Leatherface pops up and all hell breaks loose, and they just totally drop that whole plot point. So there was really no point to it at all, because Heather doesn't find out, doesn't know, so there's no reason for it. I mean, absolutely no reason for it. That's yet another thing that it's, and you know, this isn't like nitpicking this film. This isn't like trying to find faults with this film. This is glaring problems with this film that they're unforgivable. I can't believe they released this film with this many problems in it, and that's probably why they just dumped it in January. They're like, you know what, this film isn't good, we're just gonna fucking throw it out there, hopefully people watch it, so, you know, whatever. But then we get to my biggest problem with this film. Yes, I can overlook these plot points and these problems, all this stuff, because no slasher is really perfect. You know, you're always going to be able to, there's always going to be little plot holes or this and that with most slasher films, especially with the Chainsaw Massacre films. But my biggest problem with this film comes towards the end. Once Heather finds out that Leatherface is her cousin, she finds out she is a Sawyer. She starts to become sympathetic towards him, and in turn, the filmmakers are trying to make you sympathetic towards Leatherface. Leatherface is trying to kill off the people that killed his family, the townspeople, the sheriffs, and they're trying. They show Leatherface getting beat, and they're trying to make you feel for Leatherface. And then comes probably one of the worst dialogue parts I've seen. I fucking laughed out loud in the theater and actually said, "Oh my God," because it was so bad. Leatherface is getting his ass kicked. Well, Heather comes up and she kicks the chainsaw over to Leatherface as you know, the guys are off him. She kicks the chainsaw over to him, and she's like, "Do your thing, cuz!" And it's just like, oh my God, that's fucking bad. That's just bad, bad, bad. And you know, you know, this is a guy that fucking just cut up all her friends, has killed all these people. She's read all these reports about Sally Hardesty and all this shit she did. And, you know, then all of a sudden, this girl is just going to, because he's a family member, going to start sticking up for him. And then at the end, it's like she's taking over caring for Leatherface. You know, it shows her lock him back in his little room down in the basement that her grandma kept him hidden in. It has a voiceover, which is played by Marilyn Burns, her grandmother was, a voiceover of her telling all about Leatherface and about how you have to take care of him and he'll take care of you. And it leaves it wide open for a sequel to basically be this Heather character and Leatherface carrying on. And guys, I do not like it. I mean, it's cool that they try to do something a little different there at the end, but it just doesn't work because everything leading up to it is just garbage. I mean, it's... You know, this film has its fun moments. You know, I love some of the gore in it. Like I said, Leatherface was cool. But, you know, all of these plot holes in this film that are just so huge. I mean, I'm talking fucking Grand Canyon-sized plot holes. I can't overlook it, and I can't recommend this film, and I can't say that this film is a good film. You know, now, is it the worst Texas Chainsaw Massacre film? Well, that depends on how you feel. You know, I think that The Next Generation is still the worst, but this is probably the second worst. Like, you know, I'm not a big fan of the remake, but I don't hate it. and I love the beginning. I've always said I love the beginning as just looking at it as a standalone Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. But this one is just, those two are better than this. And guys, I'm going to give Texas Chainsaw 3D a 4 out of 10. And I think that that's probably still being a little bit too nice. But, you know, it does have some fun parts. I liked, you know, some of the chase, like the chase scene where he chases Heather over to this fair, this carnival thing that's going on. He saws through, you know, the fence. And there's like this House of Horrors thing where they chase you out of it with a chainsaw, this character, and then Leatherface comes up and he's got a real chainsaw. He scares that character. So there are fun elements in it, and it is pretty cool. But overall, guys, it's a bad film, and I can't recommend this at all. So, yeah, guys, 4 out of 10 for Texas Chainsaw. And, you know, go see it if you're interested, but definitely don't expect much. So I appreciate you guys watching. Have a good one. Later.